Hello, Kemi.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Okay. We'll come to what you're thinking in a minute. Why do you want to be Tory leader?
I want to be leader of our party because it means something very special to me, and I don't want to see it die. I think the result we had at the last election shows that we are at an existential point. There is a party to the right that is challenging us. People across the political spectrum don't know what we stand for. I think that I can help sell conservatism again, confident conservatism. I am somebody who gets cut through. I am somebody who communicates our values, and I always start from first principles. I can do it, and that's where I want to be Tory leader.
What was the moment when you decided you could be Conservative leader?
It was after I actually stood in 2022, and I did much better than everybody expected. Quite often people stand for leadership for different reasons. In 2022, I was very frustrated that the party was going in the wrong direction. I thought we were talking right and governing left. And what I thought would happen is I'll stand for leaders so I can give a speech, talk about what's wrong, and then one of the other camps will grab me as soon as I go out. And then I didn't go out. I kept staying on and on in different rounds. I didn't get grabbed in the end to be part of someone's team. But I got the message out. And I thought, well, if I can come forth and beat former chancellors, former home secretaries, I could probably win this contest. But I need to make sure that I'm doing it from first principles. And given everything that's happened over the last 5 years, I think we all know that it is time for renewal.
And your qualities, we've heard from Tom Tugendhat's, his military history. He doesn't like to talk about it, but he does talk about it quite a bit. What qualities have you got to make you a good leader?
What qualities that I have that make me a good leader rather than just a great person? Okay. I would start off with honesty. A lot of people are not used to a politician who says it like it is. And that is what we need to do now in this age where everybody has a short attention span. You need people who can cut through very quickly and communicate our values clearly. I think I can do that. But I also work very well with teams. I'm not a loner. There's a reason why my campaign is called Renewal 2030 and not Kemi for Leader. I think for too long we have relied on one person's personality. Oh, this person can win. Let's go with the winner, and we've forgotten about everybody else. We are a party with a great tradition. Labour has the unions. They have BBC. They have charities. All we have is each other. So the campaign is called Renewal. That is the mission. And all of the people who worked with me, all the ministers who worked in the departments that I ran are supporting me. I get on well, I can build a great team, I start from first principles, I can cut through. Thank you.
And what do your family make of this? Are they ready? It does lift you into a different level in terms of scrutiny.
Yes, it depends on which family member. So my husband thinks this is fantastic. My mother does not understand why I am doing this. And then there are views across that spectrum. But it's very difficult for family because they see you portrayed as something very different from the person that they know. And it's the same for friends as well. And I have friends of mine calling saying, why are people saying this about you? This is not what you are like. And I tell them that this is what politics is about. Being a politician often means people writing your story for you. They write a narrative for you. And for those who are closest to you, they find it quite confusing. But it's very important that we make sure that we tell our own stories. As Conservatives, we've allowed too many people to tell us who we are. We've allowed too many people to portray us as the bad guys. Labour are in, everybody can see that they're the bad guys, we're the good guys.
And what's your version of conservatism? You're centrist, to the right of the party?
I think I have a conservatism that spans quite wide. I start with principles rather than trying to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
So personal responsibility, family, freedom of speech, free markets, freedom of association. They're things that we stopped talking about. That's what my conservatism is. Some people define left or right based on Brexit for the last sort of 5, 10 years now, or 8 years. It's where you've been on the European spectrum that defines whether you're left or right, rather than the economy. I think we need to start from first principles. We need to have a proper debate in our party about how we deal with the coming decades. The world of the 1980s, or even the early 2000s, is gone. We are living in a very different world, and we need to adapt and renew, as we have always done, for this new age.
So why are you going to redefine what being a Tory is? That might worry some members.
Well, I don't think anybody here is against personal responsibility or family. It's not about redefining, it is about restating. We stop talking about principles and just talk about policy. Policy without principles does not attract people. There is not, you've got... Thank you. Our values are what attract people to us as a party. I am not redefining conservatism. I am bringing back authentic, confident conservatism. That is how we win.
What did you mean when you told me on my podcast that you became working class at McDonald's?
Well, I worked at McDonald's when I was 16, but it wasn't working at McDonald's that made me working class. It was an example of how I had become working class. I wasn't working there as a weekend job or part-time. That was my job. I was going to college part-time. I went to an FE college. And I had left Nigeria, where I'd had a middle-class life, driven to school every day. And the first time I ever went on a bus was in this country. But I couldn't even afford bus money most of the time. I had to walk everywhere. Sometimes I was hungry. I was on my own. I had a place to live, but I had to do everything myself at a very young age. If that is not working class, I don't know what working class is. The working classes are the people who have to work for a living, otherwise they will be in trouble. They are people who don't necessarily have big savings or a family that can look after them. We need to stop trying to define ourselves. This is why I say I don't like identity politics. Oh, what's this person? Let's give them a label. Are they middle class? Are they working class? Are they this? Are they that? We keep each other in boxes, try and define everyone, and we stop listening to what they're saying. Let's listen to what everybody says. That's how we're going to get a proper debate, especially in this contest.
And how will it feel to be the first black leader of a party in this country?
I don't know. I haven't done it before. I'm sure it'll be interesting, but I am somebody who wants the colour of our skin to be no more significant than the colour of our hair or the colour of our eyes.
You mentioned your straight talking. Is that a problem? I mean, let's talk about maternity pay briefly.
Okay.
Briefly. In the past 24 hours, you've had to issue a tweet, a video, an interview with Sky News to explain what you meant on Times Radio. That's a busy day, isn't it? When you weren't meant to talk about maternity pay hours after that interview on Times Radio. And all the critics are going to be hearing is you're a Tory who wants to cut maternity pay. Are you?
No, I think maternity pay is quite important. And this was actually a long discussion we were having about the role of the state in deciding what businesses should do. But let's take a step back. Who remembers the phrase, "there is no such thing as society"? Yeah, everybody remembers. Mrs. Thatcher gave an interview to Woman's Own magazine where she was asked the question. She said there's no such thing as a society. She was talking about people wanting government handout, that they're only individual people and families. And that very good explanation got cut down into a soundbite that was used to attack her. When you are a leader, when you are a conservative, when you are making the argument for conservative principles, your opponents are going to try and turn it into something else. We need to decide who's going to be leader of the party. Not the left, not the Guardian, not the BBC, just conservatives.
You did say it's excessive. You said the maternity pay varies depending on who you work for, and you said it's excessive.
I was answering a different question. I was interrupted as I was answering a different question.
Right.
And I don't actually think Kate McCann was trying to catch me out. I was trying to explain that When we start talking about micro policy, we forget the first principles. Businesses, and I'll use an example. There's a cafe in my constituency that closed down, and the lady who owned it said, I can't afford to pay the wages anymore. I can't afford minimum wage. I can't afford for my staff to go on maternity. We are overburdening businesses. We are overburdening them with regulation, with tax. People aren't starting businesses anymore because they're too scared. The point I'm making is that if we lighten the burden on business, they will be able to help solve these problems, rather than what Kate was asking me, should the government increase it, should the government do this or that? There is too much government already. Things aren't getting any better. Maybe we should try something else.
And people say you're quite blunt speaking privately, you know, you're brittle, can be a bit loose your temper easily. Is that an unfair characterisation of you?
Can you give me an example of when that's ever happened?
It's just people telling me stuff. I mean,
of course people will tell you stuff. People who don't want me to win the leadership are telling you these things. This is politics.
Is there a Stop Kemi campaign? You've gone towards that in some interviews, haven't you?
There's always a Stop Someone campaign. There will be a Stop Tom campaign, there will be a Stop James campaign, there will be a Stop Rob campaign, and of course there will be a Stop Kemi campaign. But as you can see, they are not stopping me.
Looking back on your record in the election in July, why do you think your government lost?
We lost for a whole host of reasons. There's a general fatigue that comes with being in government for a long time, and some people will just want change. There's nothing we could have done about that. But we made it worse. We could have lost and just lost, but we lost in a historic defeat. There are so many MPs or former MPs now that I'm seeing at conference, and I keep thinking to myself, I can't believe these people aren't here. And we have to make sure that this doesn't happen again. When we knocked on doors, we kept hearing all sorts of different things. Some people saying, you're too left-wing. Other people saying, you're too right-wing. Some saying you're too centrist. We were all over the place in terms of what we were doing. People didn't understand what we stood for. On top of that, we looked like we were squabbling amongst ourselves constantly. Nobody's going to vote for that. And that is why people voted whatever they could to kick us out. They voted Green, they voted Reform, they voted Lib Dem. We have a Labour government now that nobody really likes. They're making a whole hash of things. We need to renew ourselves, pick ourselves off the ground, and start doing what this country wants, which is being real conservatives.
How will your party restore the trust that it lost in that? Just by being real true to what you believe in?
We will need to do several things to get the trust back. We need to acknowledge where we made mistakes. There's no point just waiting for everybody to get sick and tired of Labour or saying, I told you so. We need to move on from where we left things by saying what we got wrong. If I'm elected leader, we will have a very rapid review process where members and MPs can feed in and we talk about what we got wrong, and we should acknowledge that to the public. But we also need to start speaking with more clarity and with more honesty. Quite often when you see a politician on TV, there's just so much, waffle. Everybody's trying to, and I understand why lots of people speak in what I call officialese. And they speak in officialese because they're worried about the gotcha moment. They're worried about, what we had yesterday where people said, oh, did you mean this? Did you mean that? And so they just say safe, bland words, but there is a cost to that. And that is that people stop listening to you. We need to make sure that we get listened to. And that means speaking with clarity and picking a leader who's going to be able to cut through and grab the attention of the public, especially as they're becoming more disillusioned with politics.
On migration, you supported a party on your manifesto to get it down in 2017, 2019, 2024 when you're a candidate. Is it time for an apology?
I think so. And I wrote an article in the Telegraph at the weekend about what we did wrong. That there are three things we need to do: look at the numbers, look at the culture, and look at leadership. And we sort of just made an announcement and then assumed that somebody else would be looking after it. And that's not right. This is not politics. If you just say words and hope it happens, that's witchcraft. That's not what we do. We have to make it happen.
Were you trying to stop it in government when you were...
I did as trade secretary with FTAs where there were mobility deals that I didn't think made sense. I certainly tried to stop them. There is a big difference with having a mobility scheme with a country like Switzerland or Australia, where the same numbers of people are moving back and forth. That's easy. When you have a mobility deal with a country that has 1 billion people, then it's quite skewed. Well, especially if you don't have an equal number of people from here wanting to go there. We have to legislate and create policy that is in national interests, not just so we have an announcement for a particular day.
Yes. Will you cap it?
I think there will need to be a cap, but we also need to design a system that means the cap cannot be manipulated. So you won't hear me say, I promise to have a cap and it's going to be this number. It's very easy to create a cap. We saw this with the points migration system that people manipulate. If you have a cap and you have lots of the wrong people coming in, or worse, good people leaving our country. Good people leaving our country is great for net migration stats. Migration stats shouldn't just be about the numbers. It should be about who is coming in, who is leaving, why that is happening. Otherwise, we are talking to the letter, but not the spirit, of lowering immigration.
In your maiden speech, you describe yourself as to all intents and purposes, a first-generation immigrant. I mean, how do you feel being tough on migration now?
I think this is one of the most interesting things that happens when you tackle these tricky subjects. There are people who are constantly trying to police what you're saying. You know, how can you say this? How can you say that? This wouldn't have happened if those rules had been in place if you were in. But my job right now is to make sure that this country stays as great as it is. And that means we have to manage migration. The rules that were in place in 1980 are very don't make sense in 2024. The world is a different place. People have mobile phones now, they have GPS. You are able to have your feet in this country and your head and your heart elsewhere. That doesn't make sense, to have old laws in a new era. We need to keep adapting and updating our migration policy. And I want this country to be great for my children as well. We need to control it. We need to make sure that we are thinking about the next generation, not just who's going to wipe bottoms for us today. That's not good enough.
On Brexit, on the EU Retain Law Act, it was on your watch. Your government said you'll axe 4,000 measures in January last year. Only 800 or not many went in the end.
Oh, we did axe 4,000, but there was a schedule that had 800 that were being removed in that piece of legislation. We removed others in other pieces of legislation.
Okay, because critics said you weren't being tough with the blob. I mean, I can't believe that, but they said that.
I'm always tough with the blob. But with one of the things that we need to make sure is that we make promises that we can keep. I think some people were angry that we didn't remove all of the EU regulations, but there are regulations on things like product safety, safety of toys. We don't want to remove those things. It's about keeping what you want and letting go of what you don't want. It's about the purpose of the law, not the provenance of the law. We have to be sensible when we're doing these things and not just use rhetoric. That's very, very important.
Thank you for watching Noble Black News, where we strive to bring you the real stories and perspectives that truly matter. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your community, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Together, let's continue to uncover the untold stories and celebrate the achievements of the global Black community. Stay tuned for more powerful stories. Until next time.